Amelia leaned against the window frame, watching the sun dip below the horizon, its last rays painting the sky in hues of orange and pink. The calm scene outside belied the storm brewing within her. She closed the banking app on her phone, heart pounding, trying to make sense of the glaring discrepancy in her account. Almost $110,000 vanished, the sum of countless summers since she was 16, painstakingly saved. Her stepfather, Dennis, sat across the room, absorbed in the mail stack, appearing oblivious. "Where's my money, Dennis?" Amelia demanded, her voice a tight coil of anxiety. Dennis barely looked up, his demeanor infuriatingly relaxed. "Amelia, calm down. I moved it into a better account. Higher interest, that sort of thing." The words hit her like a splash of cold water, leaving Amelia momentarily speechless. "You moved it without telling me?" Her tone sharpened as she pressed for details. Dennis finally regarded her with a maddeningly placid smile. "You'll thank me later, Amelia. It's earning more this way." Her skepticism deepened. "What account?" she insisted, her patience fraying. "Show me." He waved her off dismissively. "It's tied up in obligations right now, but trust me, it's in good hands." Amelia's mind buzzed, each thought of the sacrifices she'd made to accumulate that money adding fuel to her growing anger. Nights spent juggling 2 jobs, the brisk mornings at the diner and long evenings at the local movie theater, flashed before her eyes. Every invitation from friends declined, and every impulse purchase resisted, stood in stark contrast to the betrayal unfolding at the kitchen table. Dennis and her mother, Helen, had always made light of her diligence, advising her with platitudes about youth and time. Yet, never had she fathomed they would take what she had rightfully earned. The full scale of their actions only emerged after hours of pestering Dennis to no avail. That evening, Amelia found her mother in the living room. She entered with a resolute stride, her emotions a turbulent sea under her calm exterior. "Mom, where's my money?" Helen hesitated, her eyes flickering to the kitchen where Dennis lingered. "Amelia, it's not as bad as you think," she began, her voice soft yet unyielding. "That's not an answer," Amelia interrupted, the edge in her voice as sharp as her disappointment. With palpable reluctance, Helen's mask fell away, and the truth was revealed. "We used it for Susan's college fees," she admitted. Amelia could hardly believe what she was hearing. "Susan? Your stepdaughter." Her financial aid fell through, Helen explained, her voice shifting to a defensive tone. She was at risk of losing her spot. Amelia clenched her fists, her frustration finding a voice. "And you thought that made it okay? This money was for my future, not hers." Dennis reappeared in the doorway, cradling a drink. "You'll bounce back, Amelia," he drawled. Susan didn't have that luxury. The anger twisted into something deeper. Amelia recalled the endless days and nights dedicated to securing her independence, all reduced to nothing by a decision she hadn't consented to. "I want every penny back," she declared, her voice steady against the storm brewing around her. Dennis chuckled, taking a leisurely sip. "You're overreacting. It's spent. What would you have us do?" "I don't care what you have to do," Amelia shot back, determination etched in every syllable. "Find a way." Helen sighed, pressing her fingers lightly against her temples. "Amelia, this was a family decision. Sometimes we have to make sacrifices." "Don't talk to me about sacrifices," Amelia retorted, her emotions a raw, open wound. "I know all about them. This isn't sacrifice. This is theft." Restless and livid, sleep evaded her that night. The echoes of the confrontation looped mercilessly in her mind, stoking her resolve. With the first light of dawn, Amelia knew action was her only option. She picked up the phone and dialed her best friend, Riley. "Riley, I'm in trouble," she confessed, each word heavy with the weight of her ordeal. Amelia's hands trembled with anger as she recounted the betrayal to Riley over the phone. Her friend's outrage simmered audibly in a silence that followed. "They did what?" "Amelia, that's theft. You need to talk to a lawyer immediately." Amelia nodded to herself, her resolve solidifying. Following Riley's advice, she contacted a law firm Riley had mentioned. As she unfolded the story to attorney Morgan Ellis, detailing Dennis's smooth-talking deceit and Helen's feeble justifications, Morgan listened with an attentive patience that steadied Amelia. "This sounds like a clear case of unauthorized use of funds," Morgan said after a moment of consideration. "We can certainly pursue legal action, but I'll need some documentation from you. Do you have access to the account statements?" Yes, Amelia confirmed, her determination burgeoning. "I can send everything over." As she ended the call, an unexpected calmness enveloped her. Though the path ahead was uncertain, she was resolute that they wouldn't escape accountability. Dennis and Helen had counted on her youth, her familial bonds, her reluctance to fight back, but they were sorely mistaken. The days that followed were consumed by a flurry of calls, emails, and a tumultuous tide of emotions. Riley was by her side one evening, helping sort through a stack of old bank statements to gather evidence for Morgan. "I can't believe they had the nerve to do this," Riley remarked indignantly, highlighting the suspicious withdrawal. "And for Susan, of all people. Doesn't she have everything handed to her already?" Amelia nodded tightly, resisting the urge to snap the pen in her grip. "She's never had to work for anything," she murmured. "And somehow I'm painted as selfish for wanting my own savings back." "You're doing the right thing," Riley assured her, her tone unwavering. "They're banking on making you feel guilty, but you owe them nothing." This was outright theft. Morgan echoed Riley's sentiments during their first face-to-face meeting. As she reviewed the documents Amelia had meticulously compiled, she appeared confident. "This is sufficient to support your case," she declared. "Since Dennis transferred the money from your account without your explicit permission, it's classified as unauthorized use of funds. We'll begin by sending a demand letter." Amelia leaned forward intently. "And if they don't respond?" "Then we escalate," Morgan said simply. "But most people react quickly once the legal system becomes involved. Trust me, they're probably panicking already." The image of Dennis and Helen scrambling to concoct excuses conjured a grim satisfaction within Amelia. For years, they had sidestepped her needs in favor of Susan's, assuming Amelia would quietly fall in line. Now, they'd learn the cost of underestimating her. The demand letter landed on their doorstep 3 days later. Amelia imagined the scenario vividly, Dennis peeling open the envelope, his habitual smirk dissolving as he digested its content, Helen pacing the kitchen, fretting about Amelia's perceived ingratitude, while Susan, blissfully detached, lounged in her dorm, oblivious to the unfolding drama. It wasn't long before the backlash arrived. Late one evening, Amelia's phone vibrated to life, Dennis's name flashing on the screen. Curiosity piqued, she decided to answer. "What is this, Amelia?" Dennis roared the instant she picked up. "You enlisted a lawyer against us?" Amelia's voice remained unruffled as she replied, "I did." "You took my money, Dennis. This is me holding you accountable." Dennis's voice carried a cynical disbelief. "Stole? We're family. It was a loan." Poker-faced, Amelia countered, "No, it wasn't. You acted without my consent. You didn't even inform me. You took it." Helen's voice rang faintly from the background. "Amelia, you're being absurd. We did it for Susan. She needed the support." "And I didn't?" Amelia retorted fiercely. "Do you have any idea of the sacrifices I made to save that money? You had no right." Dennis scoffed. "You're young. You can earn it again. This is a pointless exercise." "Well, we'll let the courts determine that," Amelia concluded before ending the call. Their denial only stoked her determination further. Morgan filed the formal lawsuit the following day, accusing them of unauthorized use of funds and breach of trust. "This should catch their attention," Morgan said with confidence as she sent Amelia the legal documents. "If they continue to resist reimbursing the full amount." As the legal gears started to turn, whispers of the conflict rippled through the extended family like a spreading wildfire. Amelia soon discovered that Helen had framed the situation quite differently, portraying herself and Dennis as noble parents who simply made a difficult choice for the family's benefit. Amelia wasn't about to let them control the narrative. During a particularly heated call, her aunt tried to intervene, pleading, "Amelia, try to understand their side." They were just trying to help Susan. Isn't that what family does? Amelia's voice was as cold and unyielding as her conviction. Family doesn't steal from one another, she retorted. They could have asked me. They took what wasn't theirs and assumed I wouldn't fight back. A pause lingered heavily before her aunt quietly acquiesced. Well, I suppose you have a point. Meanwhile, Riley became Amelia's rock, her unyielding ally through the storm. As nights turned into a blur of Morgan's updates and endless paperwork, Riley was ever present, soothing Amelia's frayed nerves. I know it's exhausting, Riley said one evening, her voice soft amidst the sea of papers. But you're almost there. They're already feeling the heat. Riley was accurate in her assessment. Desperation colored Helen's text messages long, winding apologies interspersed with pleadings for peace. We didn't mean to hurt you. Can't we just move on from this? Read one message. Another prodded, Susan's education is crucial. Don't you want her to have a future? Dennis, on the other hand, wore his arrogance like a shield. When Morgan reached out for his official statement, he stonewalled her, asserting that the funds were family property and Amelia had no legitimate claim. Morgan remained unfazed, reassuring Amelia, courts don't favor those who mask theft as a familial issue. Things took another turn when Susan finally learned the full scope of the trouble. She called Amelia, her tone laced with irritation rather than remorse. Why are you making such a fuss? It's not like you needed the money now. Amelia's frustration hit its peak. Do you even listen to yourself? That money wasn't yours, wasn't Dennis's, nor Helen's. It was mine, and you're riding the wave of something misappropriated from me. And what am I supposed to do about it? Susan asked, clearly exasperated. Nothing, Amelia replied, her resolve unwavering. It's not you who owes. It's them, and I assure you, they will rectify it. With the court date looming and pressure building, Dennis and Helen, now visibly frayed at the edges, finally proposed a settlement. We'll reimburse you, Dennis conceded reluctantly during mediation. But this whole ordeal is absurd, Amelia. You're fracturing the family over a mistake. Amelia met his gaze evenly, her voice a quiet force. No, she corrected him. The fracture happened when you decided my efforts didn't matter. This is me setting things right. The mediation room was bare and unfriendly, an environment that spared no room for misconceptions. Dennis sat opposite Amelia, arms folded, frustration etched into every line of his face. Helen sat beside him, fidgeting with her hands, avoiding eye contact. Morgan was at Amelia's side, calm and collected, flipping through the damning documents that chronicled the whole betrayal. The mediator, a composed and authoritative woman, began, "We're here to address the dispute between Amelia Clarkson and Dennis and Helen Parker regarding the unauthorized transfer of $110,000 from Amelia's account. Both sides can present their arguments, aiming for a satisfactory agreement." Dennis leaned forward, his voice tinged with controlled exasperation. "Amelia is misunderstanding the entire situation," he began. "We didn't steal anything. We shifted the funds to help Susan with college. Amelia has ample time to rebuild her savings." Morgan's response sliced through his rationalizations with precision. "You transferred her money without consent," she stated, her voice a dagger of clarity. "That is not a misunderstanding, it's theft." Dennis's smirk barely concealed his underlying anxiety as the session progressed. As the mediator room vibrated with tension, Amelia confronted Dennis, her eyes sharp with resolve. "Family money," she echoed, each word slicing the air. "This wasn't shared household finances, it was mine. You didn't even think to ask." Morgan leaned forward, her voice layered with disbelief. "You assumed permission wasn't necessary, Dennis, even though the account existed purely under Amelia's name?" Helen's voice finally broke through, tremulous and desperate. "We never meant to harm her. We assumed she'd neither notice nor object." Amelia fixed her with an icy stare. "You assumed you could take what I'd earned and label it as a family contribution. That's not how reality works." The mediator intervened, her presence steadying the charged atmosphere. "Let's focus purely on the facts at hand. Amelia, Your stance is firm that the $110,000 was your hard-earned savings, removed without consent. Is that accurate? Yes, Amelia answered, her gaze unflinching. I worked multiple jobs for years to save. I never consented to this. Dennis jumped in defensively. Our intention was genuine, to aid Susan. Malice was never a factor. Then why keep me in the dark? Amelia countered. Why fabricate a story about higher interest accounts? Words eluded Dennis, rendering him momentarily speechless. For the first time, the weight of his actions pinned him visibly. Morgan seized the moment, placing evidence before them, a transaction record, a stark narrative of unauthorized access. Here's proof, she declared, her words piercing through the defense. Dennis, these messages confirm your intent to use her money for Susan's tuition fees. The facts eliminate all doubts. Helen's face paled as the mediator reviewed the evidence, the shield of false bravado crumbling around Dennis. We didn't foresee this reaction, he muttered, almost a plea to himself. Amelia's voice remained unwavering. This isn't just about money, Dennis. It's about violated trust. Your justifications fall flat. The mediator lowered the documents, addressing them firmly. Based on presented evidence, it's clear the money was taken without Amelia's consent. Regardless of your intentions, you disrupted her financial independence. Full reimbursement and coverage of Amelia's legal expenses are mandated. Helen sighed, a soft sound of remorse, while Dennis's face froze in frustration. How are we to gather such funds? He demanded, struggling to keep his composure. Amelia met his gaze, her words decisive. That's your problem now. I found a way to save it initially. You'll find a way to return it. Silence stretched before the mediator prompted again. Accept this agreement, and we conclude today. Otherwise, Amelia retains the option for a civil suit, introducing potential further financial penalties. Dennis's breath escaped sharply, like a promise broken. Fine, he conceded, the word bitter on his tongue. We'll repay her. The mediator handed over the settlement papers. As Dennis and Helen scrawled their signatures, Helen glanced up at Amelia, eyes clouded with a mixture of regret and resentment. This was never our intention. It didn't have to escalate to this, Amelia replied, holding her stare. But you chose to take what wasn't yours. I'm ensuring accountability. Leaving the mediation, a kaleidoscope of emotions swirled within Amelia, relief and vindication mingling with a sorrow for what had been irreparably altered. Morgan offered a comforting hand on her shoulder as they moved toward the elevator. You managed it all with grace, Morgan commended. They should be grateful you didn't seek more. They'll settle their debt, Amelia murmured, but internally, she recognized it meant more than just financial restitution. Upholding her self-worth against familial disregard was paramount. 2 weeks passed before the promise materialized into the first deposit, as scripted in their agreement. Though it wasn't the complete $110,000, seeing even a fraction of her rightful savings return settled any lingering doubt about her resolve. With the first trace of her reclaimed savings reflecting in her bank account, Amelia's relief was palpable, a victory bathed in hard-fought breaths of justice. It wasn't merely about the money, it was the declaration that she had stood her ground. The following day, Helen's call came in, her voice markedly softer, laced with something like remorse. Amelia, she began, her words halting as if measuring their weight. We've started sending the payments. I hope we can begin to leave this behind. Amelia paused, choosing her response with care. Leaving it behind requires more than repayment, she said. It involves recognizing the hurt caused and why it was wrong. We never intended harm. Helen's words tumbled out, eager to mend. We just wanted to help Susan. You keep repeating that, Amelia replied, her tone steady. Yet, you neither consulted me nor considered its impact. That's where the real pain lies. Helen exhaled deeply, a moment of silence hinting at introspection, but then reverted to routine excuses. You're young, Amelia. You have time to bounce back. Can't we just move past this? Amelia felt frustration simmering beneath her calm facade. This isn't about youth, Mom. It's about respect. If that's not acknowledged, then we're not ready to move on. Helen's ensuing silence was more telling than words. That evening, Riley arrived, brandishing a bottle of wine, eyes alight with mischief. To keeping folks accountable, she grinned, raising her glass. And to ensuring nobody exploits me again, Amelia responded, their glasses ringing with resolve. As they spoke, the transformation within Amelia became clear. She had long allowed Helen and Dennis's indifferent attitudes to chip at her confidence, believing resistance wasn't worth the fallout. Now, she knew better. The reshaping of boundaries didn't denote selfishness, but strength. Weeks passed, and with them came an awkward apology from Susan. Her message was brief, an admission of ignorance. I didn't realize they used your money. Sorry if I gained from it. Amelia chose silence, recognizing that whether Susan knew or not, she played her part in a structure valuing her needs above Amelia's. Forgiveness might dawn with time, but it wasn't this day. Dennis remained predictably mute, though payments arrived punctually. His silence, a shield for his pride, was an unspoken agreement to sidestep any further acknowledgement. Amelia was content with this, uninterested in rebuilding bridges with someone who viewed her purely as a means. As Amelia managed her finances, breathing came easier with each installment. She recalibrated her budget, reignited her savings, and set fresh aspirations. Though the sting of betrayal lingered, it fueled her resolve, a constant reminder of the fortress she had erected from her efforts. The money would reaccumulate, but the empowerment of defending her rights was immeasurable. Months later, as the final payment completed her balance, Amelia regarded the number with a blend of pride and relief. Her finances were restored, yet more profound was the revival of her agency, her validation in reclaiming what was hers. It marked the start of a new narrative, one where she wielded true control over her destiny. That night, she celebrated silently, no grand gestures, just a quiet toast in her apartment. The reconstruction of what was nearly lost had taught her invaluable lessons, worth far beyond the financial. Helen phoned again following the last installment, her tone cautious yet steady. Amelia, she began, I know things have been difficult, but I hope we're ready to move forward. Moving forward means respecting me, Amelia replied, her voice firm and unquestionable. Respect for my choices, my boundaries, my autonomy. Without that respect, there's no path ahead. A pause ensued, long enough for Amelia to wonder if her mother finally comprehended. I'll try, Helen said softly, I really will. It wasn't perfect, but it was a beginning, a tentative pour of foundation where respect had been withheld. Beneath the pale twilight shimmered a sense of newfound freedom, a reprieve Amelia had craved for months. As she sat with Riley on her apartment balcony, the city lights flickered to life, matching the burgeoning hope within her. Riley raised her glass, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. So, Amelia, what's next on the horizon for you? Ready to conquer the world? A calm smile spread across Amelia's face, lighter than she had felt in ages. Honestly, I haven't pinned it down yet, Amelia confessed, her voice mingling with the cool evening breeze. Maybe it's time to finally pursue an education or invest in a dream I've always had. What I do know is, whatever it is, it'll be entirely my decision this time. To your terms and only yours, Riley declared, their glasses meeting with a soft clink that echoed perfectly against the backdrop of their friendship. Later, as Amelia drifted into sleep, she reflected on the rugged path that led her here. Dennis and Helen had counted on her silence, thinking familial bonds would restrain her response to their betrayal. But Amelia had rewritten that narrative. She had demanded her due, navigating through the storm to reclaim what was hers. The monetary restitution reflected in her account was more than just digits. It encapsulated personal victory, a testament to her resilience, her hard-won autonomy, and her determination to forge a future no longer dictated by others. The promise of tomorrow brimmed with possibility. While trust might need time to heal, Amelia's resolve was steadfast. Whatever adventure lay ahead, she was ready, equipped with the assurance that this time, nothing and no one would wrest control of her story.